Don Valley West.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I'm so glad that the member from the bloc explained his principles, his good sense, his logic, and his understanding of the problem. The problem is, there is no problem. He just told us that in the general elections of Quebec, there were a grand total of 4 people who showed up wearing a veil, and they were dealt with under the existing law. Where is the problem? He says, we're going to correct the situation. What situation? There is no situation. The problem here is that we're being asked to pass a law which is entirely unnecessary. It makes no sense. It was not a problem during the Ontario general election, which has exactly the same rules. It was not a problem during the Quebec general election. It was not a problem during the Quebec by-elections. We don't have a problem. We have a method of dealing with it. We ask for pieces of identification, which don't have to be with a photo ID. We ask in case of doubt that people swear, take an oath that they are who they are, and they will suffer the penalties if they're not who they're supposed to be. But we're not here to pass unnecessary legislation where there is no problem. Worse than that, Mr. Speaker, we're not here to pass coded legislation. Legislation which singles out only one group. You notice how often people use the word the veiled voting bill as opposed to the visual identification bill or what other Orwellian phrase we're currently using for this. It is singling out a specific group of people, Muslim women, who are not part of a problem, who haven't asked for this, and who are now being asked to say, even though I didn't ask for this, I'll go along because I want to go along. Why should any group in Canadian society of innocent people who are being singled out for a non-problem be asked to swallow themselves whole simply to get along? What we want is everyone to participate in this society as full members of it, and we would certainly want that for newcomers, including Muslim women of all sorts, veiled or unveiled. And meanwhile, there are real problems. There's the real problem which is addressed by C-18, which is leaving 1 million people off the voters list. That strikes me as a bit of a problem. And yet we're investing all of this energy in a non-problem which has this side-swiping effect for a group of innocent women in this country, and I think it is a totally ridiculous bill. It is, of course, completely illogical. You can vote by a postal vote and there's no problem at all. You can vote stark naked. You can vote with a blanket over your head. You can vote underwater, blowing bubbles, as long as you don't get it on the paper. You can do all of that, and there is no connection with visual identification. You cannot insist that every Canadian has to have a photo ID because there is no photo ID which all Canadians have to have. And by the way, Mr. Speaker, I want to be splitting my time with the member for Don Valley East, who has much to say on this point.
Is this a veiled threat?
This is not a veiled threat. This is a real opportunity because I'm a sharing kind of guy. So, since we can't insist that all Canadian citizens have driver's licenses or any other standard visual identification, there is no connection between showing your face and the forms of ID which are available to people. You might as well say, show your left foot or your belly button. None of them make any sense. We're not here to promulgate laws which are unnecessary, and we're not here to deal with illogicality and a lack of principle. And finally, if you wanted to get into the general oddity of this bill, there's what I call the English patient clause. Now, for those of you who saw the film, The English Patient, you remember that guy who's lying in his little villa all covered with bandages? Apparently, we're worried about him. There are 4 references to the English patient in here, bandaged people. And bandaged people are not going to be treated like anybody else. There's going to be a discrimination between bandaged people and unbandaged people. But on the bandaged people, mind you, they have to come forward with a piece of ID saying, I really need the bandage. One has a sort of strange image of these guys getting off their deathbeds, crawling out from their Italian villas like the English patient, and casting their vote. But it is not to treat all voters the same. So why have we got the English patient exception, and yet we go on about this other non-problem over here? So all in all, Mr. Speaker, this is a silly bill.
Silly.
Silly and dangerous because it promulgates a false idea that there is somehow a problem, and that problem is somehow associated with Muslim women, the very people we're trying to get to be citizens along with everybody else in this country. So we shouldn't be passing this bill. It's unnecessary, it's silly, and it's illogical. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.